The 2023 Annual Shareholders Meeting of Altos Property Venture Incorporated will now begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philippine National Anthem.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this meeting. May I request the Corporate Secretary to please certify the sending of notices to the shareholders and to the existence of a quorum for this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I hereby certify that notice of this meeting had been sent to the shareholders of record as of April 4, 2023 via the following methods. First, by publication in the Manila Standard and Business World for 2 consecutive days in both online and print formats. Second, by posting on the website of the corporation. And third, by disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange. Thus, the shareholders have been notified of this meeting in compliance with the applicable rules and regulations. I hereby certify that there are present in this meeting, via remote communication or by proxy, shareholders entitled to vote representing 69.42% of the corporation's total outstanding shares, and that this meeting is therefore competent to transact the business provided for in the agenda. A quorum is present, Mr. Chairman.
There being a quorum, the annual meeting of the shareholders of Altos Property Ventures Inc. is hereby called to order. May I request the Corporate Secretary to share with us the rules and procedures for this meeting?
The rules and procedures are set forth in the definitive information statement and in the explanation of agenda items integrated into the notice of this meeting. All tabulation results for this meeting are subject to validation by Punong Bayan and Araulio, and the final voting results will be reflected in the minutes of today's meeting. For the information of the shareholders who are with us now during this broadcast, the corporation has requested shareholders to send their questions or comments by email. Questions which were received by May 4, 2023 have been collated, and selected questions will be answered later on. The corporation will reply to the questions and comments not taken up during this meeting through email.
Let us now proceed to the next item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes of the 2022 Annual Meeting of Shareholders. May I call on the Corporate Secretary to present the results of voting for this agenda item?
Mr. Chairman, copies of the minutes have been distributed to the shareholders by providing the link to the said minutes in the information statement and by showing a QR code on the screen prior to the meeting. The minutes have been approved as submitted by votes representing 69.42% of the total outstanding shares of the corporation.
Thank you. The minutes are hereby approved as presented. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. May I now call on Mr. Faraday Digo, President and CEO of the corporation, to present his report together with the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2022. Mr. President.
Good afternoon to the members of our board and our valued shareholders. We will be presenting to you Altos Property Venture Inc.'s financial report and operational highlights for the calendar year 2022. Let us start with a discussion on our financial highlights and performance. We are happy to share APVI's financial results from its improved operational performance. In the full year 2022, APVI's total revenues grew by 50% to 194.4 million over the same period last year. With its continued efficient mall operations, The company's EBITDA for 2022 increased by 60% to 142.6 million from 89.4 million in 2021. This yielded an EBITDA margin of 73%, an increase of 4 percentage points from 69% in the previous year. Together with the effect of depreciation and higher interest income, net income for the year expanded by 68% to 109 million from 64.8 million in the previous year. This produced a net income margin of 56% compared to 50% in 2021. APVI sustained its strong financial position with 905.83 million in total assets and 781.36 million in total shareholders' equity as of December 31, 2022. The increase in total assets was due to cash and cash equivalents at 444.06 million. The company's internally generated funds sufficiently covered its working capital requirements due to the recovering business environment. APVI's earnings per share for the full year 2022 posted at 1.09 per share. This was an increase of 68% from 2021 earnings per share at 0.65 centavos per share. Finally, APVI's 2022 capital expenditure was 7.47 million, primarily for the replacement of chiller equipment. Let us proceed to discuss the operating summary. For the calendar year 2022, APVI's leased out occupancy rate was at 98.75%. Operational area occupancy rate stood at 81.06%. Tenant mix remained the same with 41 regular tenants, 45 creatable leasable space tenants. As of the fourth quarter of 2022, operational gross leasable space was 81%. 36 or 88% of the mall's regular tenants were operational as of the last quarter of the year. Of the 160 million pesos rental revenues recorded for the full year, 35% of this was fixed, while 65% was based on percentage of tenants' gross sales. We now turn to a discussion on our ESG programs. APVI is committed to reducing its impact to the environment from electricity consumption. The company's 4,000 solar panels added 1.02 megawatts of generated electricity in 2022, which lowered our electric consumption from the grid. With the use of Philippine Grid Emission Factor, energy saved in 2022 from using solar energy contributed to a total of 722.5 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions avoided, or equivalent to 11,946 trees planted. We would like to highlight some of APVI's initiatives for the local community last year. In 2022, APVI installed bicycle racks and a self-serving repair station to support the growing community of biking enthusiast mall-goers. The mall continues to serve the public through access to government agencies in the Lingkod Pinoy Center. Lastly, APVI's transport hubs provides commute accessibility to its customers, tenants, and employees with its 4 transportation routes and 1 transport group. Turning to APVI's governance practices, we are happy to report that in the last year, APVI was compliant with good governance practices and had 0 incidents of corruption among directors, employees, and business partners. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I call on the Corporate Secretary to present the results of voting for the approval of the audited financial statements for the preceding year?
Mr. Chairman, we are pleased to report that shareholders representing 69.42% of the total outstanding shares of the corporation have approved the audited financial statements of the corporation for the preceding fiscal year as presented. The report as presented is hereby also duly noted.
The report is duly noted, and the audited financial statements for the preceding fiscal year are hereby approved as presented. We now proceed to the election of the members of the Board of Directors. May I request the Corporate Secretary to read the names of the incumbent members of the Board of Directors?
Mr. Chairman, the incumbent members of the Board of Directors are Mr. Lance Y. Gokongwei, Mr. Frederick D. Go, Mr. Faraday D. Go, Ms. Corazon L. Anglay, and the independent directors are Mr. Martin Di Buncio, Mr. Maynard S. Smoo, and Mr. John Henry Louillier.
Thank you. May we now have the list of nominees for election to the Board of Directors and the results of voting.
Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the nomination process stated in the bylaws of the corporation, the following have been nominated as members of the Board of Directors: Mr. Lance Y. Gokongwei, Mr. Frederick D. Go, Mr. Faraday D. Go, Ms. Corazon L. Anglay, and as independent directors, Mr. Martin Di Buncio, Mr. Maynard Smoo, and Mr. John Henry Louillier. There being no other nominations, the affirmative votes in favor of those nominated have been tabulated, and the following are hereby declared as the duly elected members of the Board of Directors of the Corporation for the ensuing year, until their successors shall have been elected and qualified: Mr. Lance Y. Gokongwei, Mr. Frederick D. Go, Mr. Faraday D. Go, Ms. Corazon L. Anglay, and as independent directors, Mr. Martin Di Buncio, Mr. Maynard S. Smoo, and Mr. John Henry Louillier.
Let us move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the appointment of the external auditor of the corporation. May I call on the Corporate Secretary to present the results of voting for this agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, the accounting firm of Punong Bayan and Araulio has been nominated as the external auditor of the corporation for the fiscal year 2023. After tabulation of the votes, the appointment of Punong Bayan and Araulio as the external auditor of the corporation has been approved by shareholders representing 69.42% of the total outstanding shares of the corporation.
Thank you. The accounting firm of Punong Bayan and Araulio is hereby appointed as the external auditor of the corporation for fiscal year 2023. Let us proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the ratification of the acts of the Board of Directors and its committees, officers, and the management of the corporation. May I call on the Corporate Secretary to present the results of voting for this agenda item?
Mr. Chairman, the list of acts for ratification of the shareholders are shown right now on the screen. Copies of the said list have also been distributed to the shareholders present by showing the link and QR code to the said list on the screen prior to the meeting. After tabulation of the votes, we are pleased to report that shareholders representing 69.42% of the total outstanding shares of the corporation have confirmed and ratified the acts of the Board of Directors and its committees, officers, and the management of the corporation for the period beginning from the last annual shareholders meeting up to the current shareholders meeting, as duly recorded in the corporate books and records of the corporation.
Thank you. The acts of the Board of Directors and its committees, officers, and management of the corporation for the period beginning from the last annual meeting of the shareholders up to the current meeting of the shareholders, as duly recorded in the books and records of the corporation, are hereby confirmed and ratified. We will now respond to questions which were earlier submitted via email. The questions will be answered by Mr. Faraday Go, President of Altus Property Ventures, Inc.
What are APVI's ESG platforms and contributions?
The company is committed to create positive impact to the environment and community through our various sustainability programs. We have invested in solar panels to reduce our carbon footprint and installed water-saving fixtures in our mall restrooms. Our Lingkod Pinoy Center and transport hubs remain staples in our community efforts, providing convenient access to government services and transport connectivity to shoppers, tenants, and employees. Last year, we installed bike racks and repair stations made available for free to the growing biking community mall goers.
What are the company's future plans?
The company's priorities are centered on enhancing shareholder value and the overall mall shopping experience. In the past year, we held mall activities for kids, families, and their pets. job seekers, and local arts and craftsmen. These provided meaningful experiences for our mall patrons and boosted foot traffic to our mall tenants. APVI will continue to seek innovative offerings for our business, which will serve as new avenues for growth. Finally, our company will continue to provide unique and memorable shopping experiences to strengthen our position as a highly patronized lifestyle center in the Ilocos region.
Thank you. Are there any other matters to be taken up for consideration of the shareholders?
There are none, Mr. Chairman.
This ends the 2023 Annual Shareholders Meeting of Altus Property Ventures, Inc. A link to a replay of this meeting shall be made available at the website of the corporation. Thank you very much for joining us.